Hey there, I'm guessing if you've clicked on this video, you're about to move to Dubai or you're thinking about moving property. I am Hannah Pride. I've lived in Dubai for 6 years and I have now moved property 4 consecutive times. This isn't including my room shares at the very start, but properties within my name 4 times. I've gone from a studio to a 1-bed to a townhouse to now a townhouse villa, same size as the villa. So let's say villa just for that aspect. And I'm going to be breaking it down, what the actual cost is to move to each property and the hidden costs which not many people speak about or think about. So if you're already in Dubai thinking about moving, or you're thinking about moving internationally to Dubai, watch this video because I'm sure you'll learn something. So we're going to be breaking down the 6 categories in each apartment or property, shall I say. The annual rent, the deposit and fees, DEWA, gas connection, furnishing, and monthly bills. So for my studio apartment, this was my first ever apartment in my own name. It was my big girl apartment and I stayed in the Sway building in Dubai Hills. Now I will have to note here, this was just after COVID, so prices in Dubai Hills were much cheaper than they are in today's world. But for example, if you were to move to any other studio in, let's say, Al Farjan, JVT, JVC, Studio City, Motor City, places like this, you could maybe possibly find a studio similar prices, but I think you may struggle. They'll probably be around the 60k mark. I was just lucky. Now, what I will going to say to start this is looking at your annual rent. Please note, when you're about to rent in Dubai, you first of all need a valid Emirates ID for a long-term rental. If you have only got a passport, I would advise getting an Airbnb or a room share that you can maybe find on Facebook. I would actually say stay away from some website platforms because you can get a lot of fake listings or scam artists on them. Now, when it comes to your annual rent, many landlords would like the rent up in one check. However, there are sometimes rooms for negotiation and your most common would be up to 6 months. That means you will be required to pay your rent for the year in one check or minimum 1 check every 2 months. Now, I would actually say this is one of the key things to negotiate when moving property because of all the other expenses and bills you will have when moving abroad to Dubai or moving even within Dubai. The next things you should also outline. You have your 5% deposit. So if you have a property of 100,000, you will have to pay 5k to move into that property as a security deposit. You will also have to pay a 5% agency fee of that total value. So let's say you move into a 100k property, you are going to have to equate to 5% down payment deposit and 5% agency fee, which in this case would equal 10k. A lot of the listings on Property Finder BU don't actually disclose this. So if you are an international, you may not know that. The next thing, when you move property, you have to connect your DEWA. Your DEWA is your water and electricity. Very much, I guess, like what you would in the UK, but many people don't think about it or speak about it. But to even before you start paying your bills, you have to pay between 2,000 and 500 dirhams to connect again as your deposit. This works out at around £400 to £1,000. This doesn't matter what property you go into, it's all the same, but you have to also keep it as an added extra. Your gas connection. This is also an additional 5,000 dirhams, again around £1,000. Note, some communities have gas, some communities have gas canisters, some communities you connect. It very much varies, but it's often something that everyone catches out on or forgets about because in the UK we would never say, let me connect the gas. And then your furnishing. Now this really varies depending on the standard, the quality, the style, and also how large or small your place is. My first studio only cost me around 12k to furnish at the very beginning, and in my most recent apartment we're sitting at around 150, but my first apartment was 553 square foot. My new house is 4,900, so we have 5 times it. And then your monthly bills. Now your monthly bills can vary a lot depending if you're chiller free or not. What it means if you're chiller free is you do not pay for the aircon. Many EMAR buildings actually have chiller free buildings. Now, chiller, again, really ranges depending on the months, depending on how much you like or how cold you like your properties. I'd say for a studio, there'll be around 1,000, maybe a little bit less, and then up to a villa can be crazy numbers, but let's say for ours, it'll probably be around 5,000 a month. So I've kind of got to walk you through each property. So whether you're first time moving to Dubai, or whether you're moving to your first villa, this will give you full transparency and discrepancy, because so many people ask me this, that the reason I'm doing YouTube. My first studio was 35k. I didn't have to actually pay a 5% agency fee because I went direct to the building itself, which is quite good if you are looking to save money on some places. It can be very hard to find a building that isn't using an agent and is renting direct. I then had to pay my 2,000 DEWA deposit and was 1,000 monthly bills, along with my 5%, at that time I think it was like 1,250 security deposit. I then actually paid between 10 and 12, I can't even remember the exact, 1,000 dirhams, which is around 2,000 to 3,000 pounds, on furnishing the apartment. Now, what I will note is this was my first ever apartment. I had to buy white goods. What it means is, without white goods is your cooker, could be your dishwasher, it could be your fridge, it could be your microwave, it could be your oven. If it says no white goods, note that you will have to buy these. I also had to buy a bed, a TV, a sofa. Now, at that time, I actually used a lot of IKEA Panhome, which is more on the lower end, super cheap, and it got the job done. What's actually great about Dubai is a lot of these IKEAs and whatnot, unlike the UK where you have to do the flat pack on Sunday, they will come and build it for you. So it's really, really nice. My one bed is where I kind of took, it was a bit of financial suicide at the time, I'm gonna put my hands up, because I just don't think I expected it to cost so much, like the actual move itself. It was a really large one bed. It was more than double the size of my studio. I got my rent for 105,000 dirhams. I also had to pay my 5% deposit, 5% security. So I had to basically pay another so it was around 21,000 pounds for rent for the year across 3 checks. But then I also had to pay another basically 20,000 dirhams, which is 4,000 pounds, just to connect it to DEWA, gas, agency, security deposit for moving in the property. And these are actually, I feel, and this is why I'm being transparent, are actually the bills that trip you up. Because when I looked at it, I was like, I'm only paying 105, divided that by 4, sorry, was 26.5, that's fine. But then when you also have to pay your other 20k to sign on the property, like, oh crap, I didn't actually think about that. And then I also paid around 30,000 dirhams to fully swank this property up, because it only came with, actually did come on with white goods, unlike Sway. It came with white goods, however, I had to buy like a bigger TV, I had to buy a new bed, media wall, etc, etc. Now, I think everyone in Dubai gets media walls. I certainly have always had them, and they're normally my biggest expense. They were around 10,000 dirhams, which is 2,000 pounds, and then your sofa, dining chair, bed and extras. So it came to around 6,000 pounds. But as I said, just with furnishing and moving in and rent, I was around 75k up front just for that original move, along with then my 3 other checks for the property at 26.5. So if you are moving, just make sure that whatever you have as your down payment, also put another side to the budget of how much it's actually going to be to move in, because a lot of people get caught up with that. Now, we then moved into a 3-bedroom townhouse. I must say my partner moved into that before he met myself. The rent was 195. He had to pay 5% down payment, 5% deposit, and then his gas, electricity to connect, which is another 5k. So he had a big outlay at the front, along with our bills, which increased to around 2,000 to 3,000 a month. Now, that property to renovate, he done it very like just a bed to begin with, because again, he didn't think about all the other bills, because it isn't stated on Property Finder that he had to do. So when I moved in, I very much came, I think I had like a silly number of mirrors to make it feel brighter, and sofas and everything in between. That these are actually the costs that I would say as a girl, as a guy, you don't really think of them, but as a girl, it definitely adds up. So I would say by the time I moved in, it was around, we paid probably around 50 to 60,000 on the renovations and the furnishing of that. Now, one thing I will note is the sofa I had on my one bed, I've now brought to the last 3 properties. So if you are buying furnishings, what I would say is spend that little bit extra to make sure they last and they're nice. As soon as you continue to increase the size of your property, which I guess is everyone's goal, the furniture comes with you rather than having to start a clean slate every single time, because I definitely think that actually adds a lot to the costs. Now, what I will say, when you move to these properties, a lot of the time you'll get a gym in the building or the community that you can use. They have very much hotel amenities now. Sauna, steam has been in all my most recent properties, which is fantastic. And it is a very nice way of living in Dubai. You've got your pool, outdoor gyms, indoor gyms, communities, etc, etc. My biggest difference from moving from Tilal Al Gaf to Al Barari is we don't have a community gym. We have a gorgeous gym, but it's not a community gym. We actually have to pay for it. But what's different with there is Tilal had no white goods. We had to buy the fridge, the cooker and everything in between, whereas Al Barari has everything white goods. And I think it's quite interesting because We've basically got a WhatsApp, and anything that's broken or fixed, they just come fix it on the day, which is amazing. I don't have to call anyone out, which is the biggest blessing, but I do obviously have to pay for a gym. So depending if you want a very basic gym, which I had in all the previous communities, which I'm complaining about, but I never went to them because I'd always have paid for a gym membership. That's one thing I always say in Dubai. People are all in Dubai, you've got access to every gym. There's one in your building, there's one in your apartment, there's one in your community, but at the end of the day, everyone always has class pass, Privily, and if you're moving to Dubai, definitely get them. Great way to make friends and go to different gyms and classes cheaply. But they also find their community within a gym, like the Den, etc., Pilates classes, where people will pay to go to these classes to make friends. Now, the new place has a lovely gym, and I've actually got a membership there because it's gorgeous. But we've had a big jump, and that is one thing I've noted. I actually negotiated our checks to 3 checks, and thank God we did, because we were going to be around about 125 to 150k, I expect, for the move-in. And that's us bringing furniture from previous properties. Because of it being more than double the size of our old house, we need a new bed, we need a bigger sofa, we need etc, etc. So it's just things to know. Now, I will say probably outlay of moving is probably around 200k, which is £40,000. We've not had to pay any gas, but we still had to pay the deposit, higher price property, higher deposit size, plus agent, and then our bills have also increased. The main takeaway from this video is always know, just think, whenever you move property, wherever you're looking for on Beirut Property Finder, look at the property price and then look at 5% agency, 5% deposit, and I would say at least, if you're doing it cheap, 10% of your property value in furnishings. If you're looking at more like what a girl would move into, I would say maybe, I wouldn't even say very high luxury, you're probably looking at between 25 and 30% of the total rent you're going to have to put in furnishings to cover or fill that property, unless you're shipping loads of furniture if you've got it already. But yeah, if you are looking to move to Dubai, if you are looking to find a rental property, what I would say is make sure you get a good agent. Make sure you get a good agent that negotiates good payment terms. And what I would always say is try and negotiate your checks, because you'll never realize how expensive it is moving until you've moved, because of all these hidden costs that aren't really outlaid usually on the marketing portals. What I would say is if you're moving to Dubai, a studio will come in at around £12,000, 60,000 dirhams. A one bed will be around £20,000, 100,000 dirhams. Up a townhouse around 30 to 40,000 pounds a year, and in a villa you'll be no less than 70,000 pounds a year, which is around 350k. If you are looking to move to Dubai, if you are looking for helping for renting, buying, general assistance, drop me a message and I'll be happy to help. But thank you so much for watching. Please can you like, subscribe, comment, do what you need to do to grow this YouTube channel, and if you'd like to see more videos, let me know. Have a great day.